Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the Future History Project. And this is week 22, part 2. And this is for the fourth book. No, sorry. Yes, the fourth book of Robot City. And it's called Prodigy by Arthur Brian Cover. And it's about humor. It was an interesting story. It was better than the previous one. And again, Isaac Asimov has a specialized introduction, a 5-page introduction. Is the first question, the first line is a question: would a robot feel a yearning to be human? You might answer that question with a counter question: does a Chevrolet feel a yearning to be a Cadillac? And then he talks about humor and artistic ability. And this one is, we still have Derek. He's still on the planet with Kate. Well, actually, Ariel, her real name, Ariel Walsh. And she's starting to get sicker or showing symptoms of her illness, which she was banished from Aurora by a liaison with another spacer from off-world. So she's unclean. They don't use that word, but that's basically what it is. And so she's been banished. And the robot doctors in Robot City are having difficulty finding a cure, or at least arresting the disease. Also with them is Alpha. Now his name has been changed to Mandelbrot, and it was because when he used that specialized arm that was built, or at least designed, from Robot City, it changed some of his program, and now he's Mandelbrot. And also, too, the little alien, furry female alien, Wolfra. I always have difficulty pronouncing her name. I'm trying to find it in print here if I can just sort of see it, but I don't actually see it here. But yeah, and so they're still looking for a way off the planet by various means. Derek keeps running around getting little projects, or he's interested in things. He still doesn't have his memory. But all of a sudden there's this building that appears. It's there's a special name for it. It's where two pyramids are stuck together, sort of at their base, and it's on its point, and it spins. And while it spins, it's creating different colors and an ambiance, and even the robots are just flocking to it to look at it. Because they're interested in this, and it's not one of the buildings that is typical of Robot City, where they change and morph into things and just continually grow. This is a permanent structure, and it was created by a robot called Lucius, and he wanted to do something artistic. He had the thought of doing something for as art, which is not normal for robots. And then there is another robot that he meets, or actually two other ones. There's Harry, Benny, and M334, I think it is. They're just sort of a group, and Harry wants to be a comedian, so he's studying to be a comedian, and he starts telling jokes. One I kind of like, because it's an old joke that I heard long time ago that's been repurposed for here. Instead of a camel, it's a horse, and it's basically it's a body joke about well, in this case, a horse, a mare that they use. They're stuck in the middle of nowhere. This group of soldiers, so they have to, they use the mare. Let's put it that way, but it's not what you think it is. Or well, anyway, I won't spoil the joke because it's off color. That's for sure. So, and also too, Harry, Benny, and M334, I think it is. They create a little jazz trio, and they are playing Duke Ellington. It's a little over the top, but it's fun. Like I do say, it was fun. It's not like the previous book where there was just such bad dialogue. There's some sort of baddish dialogue in here, but it's purposely, like there's a purpose for it. When it's hokey and it's done purposely for this. Like the robots are saying stuff that they're learning. There's several that want to be artistic, as I say, and this is unusual, but it's it's come about from the emergency that happened in the second book, where the blood was from somebody that had died, a human that had died, was considered as an alien contagion. So it sent emergency things going wild and everything into a fast pace of building and using resources, and basically would have destroyed the city. So Derek, with the help of the other robots, fixed this. But it must have done something to the programming, or what he thinks that there's something that's actually innate in a robot, that that it's there somewhere, like in the subconscious, and somehow this emergency brought it out in some of them. There's another robot. I'm trying to remember his name here now. He's a builder as well, and he builds the Globe Theater for Shakespeare, because Derek and Kate, Ariel, has been reading some Shakespeare. So, but then Lucius, who built this pyramid structure, is killed, is found dead in the reservoir. His positronic matrix has been taken out and his head smashed, and he's, by all intents and purposes, dead. And Derek believes it is this one other robot. I just can't think of his name at the moment. Anyway, he believes it's a specific robot, so they put on Romeo and Hamlet. They put on Hamlet as a play with the robots. Him and he's playing Hamlet, and Ariel plays the other lead role. And sorry, I'm still looking for the name, but anyway, yeah, the Walruf is the little furry alien female creature. But anyway, and he thinks it's a success. Like, the robots actually get into the spirit of it, and then they enjoy this play, and there's a whole audience. But at the end of it, who pops up is Dr. Avery, who is the one that's designed Robot City, and he's a bit doolally, I guess you would say. That's a good English word. I kind of like that one, doolally. He doesn't care about anything else. He's just caring about his creation, and he thinks that Derek and Kate Ariel has destroyed it and set it off in different ways. So he's almost torturing them to get information out of it. But the robots sort of follow his directive. But then finally, they get sprung. They get released. And they escape. All four escape on his spaceship. And as they're going away, they get a farewell song from the trio, a jazz song playing over the interspace radio. Yeah, it's I thought like some of the discussion about art and humor and things like that were interesting in a philosophical sense, not like very low level philosophical, but it was interesting, and like it sort of it works in the series because of the issue with the way the robots are made and their purpose there, and that the glitch happens, and then it's sort of the questioning of the three laws of robotics, because humanics as well, they want to know what it's like to be human. Ever since Derek and Ariel showed up, they want to know what it's like to be human, and they're discussing this. And this is not probably something that Dr. Averill or Averill. I'm not sure now, but that they're that he had planned. But it's an interesting thing. So that's the sort of storyline. So they fluff it out with stuff, and then at the end, then they're showing like him, and then they escape to try to see if they can get help for Ariel. But it's like I say, there's padding and there's fluff in it. Even though it's a short book, it's 160. Well, it's 170 some pages, 75 pages, with the data bank in it. So it's not as good as the first two. Like, that's the thing. The third one was the third one was quite downhill. The dialogue, the characterization, just was not up to par. There was just too much silliness, and not silliness so much, but it's just eye rolling, dialogue for no reason, but it's meant to be serious. Here, there's not quite eye-rolling dialogue, but there is some eye-rolling dialogue to a certain extent. But it's done purposely for humor. And it's telling something. But again, they're fluffing it out a little bit. But there's a few things that are interesting. Susan Calvin is mentioned in here. And Dr. Avery has some hunter-seeker robots, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because in the Robots and Aliens that we read first, there's Hunter in there, and he's a hunter robot. But in here, this is after, because chronologically, this is happening after the Robots and Aliens. However, Robots and Aliens were written after Robot City. So that was an interesting little thing. And there's a few other things harkening back to Asimov's stories. There's a few little things in there that are kind of interesting. Some of them are a bit tenuous, but it is kind of interesting. And definitely the introductions are well worth reading in these. But anyway, next week will be week 23, if I got that correct. And we've got Book 5, Refugee by Rob Chilson. So that'll be the first one. There we go. And then the final one, Perihelion, Book 6 by William F. Wu. I hope it's not a dud for an ending, because these are, as a whole, they've been enjoyable. And this one was funny. It was just a hoot to read. Again, it didn't really do much. It's like there's a few ideas in here for the story, but then a lot of padding out. And the first two, you were getting into the story, you were building things up, so there wasn't as much padding, if that makes sense. But it's as they're going on, they're getting more and more padding. It's as if that they've got a story. Well, that's probably what it is. They've got a story that tells X, Y, and Z, but then we've got to make it into 6 books, so we got to split these up. So therefore, we get these ideas in this volume, in this book, but then you've got to fluff out the story to do that, which is a little frustrating at times. But that happens in a lot of science fiction. That's the one thing, that sometimes there's a really good idea, and they have to fluff it out with a story for a novel. And even like 170 pages is like short, but too long for the story. That's why I say a lot of times some writers, I'm going off tangent here, but I'll just quickly say this: some writers are really good at short stories, because what they do is the idea works for a short story, but then when they once in the golden age, they were able to write novels. They've taken a short story idea, and all they've done is fluffed it out to make a novel, which sometimes works, but many times not. It's just a lot of fluff, a lot of filler, where they could have just written a 30-page short story, and that would have been nice, a nice, sweet, succinct, and a good story. But no, they decide to, I can understand it. You get paid by the word if it is a novelization that you're serializing, or just simply you get a book contract. So I can understand all that, but it does, they're noticeable. They're noticeable. Anyway, until next week, and book 5, Refuge. Did I say refugee? But it's refuge. If I said refugee, I misspoke. It's refuge. Take care, BookTube. See you then.